What is up, my friends? We are back with the latest episode of the Anfield Agenda podcast. And as you can see, not only am I joined by Mr. Chris Donnelly, but I'm joined by the new host of Anfield Agenda, Mr. Conor Crosby. How are we, sir?
I'm good. Yeah, I've been promoted. Craig's been put down to second place now, so we know
Yeah.
who the real watch along host is here now. To be fair, so yeah, I'm here again. You're
Well, you're
stuck
the
with me
man with
now.
the YouTube silver play button, mate. You can see it behind you.
Yeah, had to have that in the background. Had to rub it in.
So I'm going to start doing the graphic design now, Chris.
Fucking hell. It's the end of the channel.
Yeah, it's going to be hand-drawn stick men. That's what it's going to be from here on forward. Connor, hair, hand-drawn, angry. Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, welcome along, as we said, and we have a lot to discuss since we've last spoken. Liverpool have gone on a fantastic streak in the wrong direction, Chris.
Yeah, it's weird, really. If you've spoken to me after any other game apart from the one the other day, I thought I'd be the most angry after losing to Man United, but I sort of was the sort of least angry out of all of the games, to be honest. But yeah, it's not been great, mate. It's not been great.
It's not, as we sit here, we're a night away or a day away from the game against Eintracht Frankfurt, and I do want to touch on that a little bit. But to kick us off tonight, gents, I'm going to get straight into it because I need to know how many losses would it take before you started to consider Arne's future. And the reason I bring this up is not because I'm looking to sack Arne. Somebody asked me last night, and the honest answer was, I didn't know, because I'm going to try and give you some context on this. I've never been in this position where I had to think about what it would take for a manager to be fired making content, because I had Jurgen. Since I start making content, it's been Jurgen. And like we said, Jurgen could be in bed with your missus and you're still not sacking him. So it's a real new concept to me. And I guess I want to know, Chris, is there a number of games for you? Is there something that would trigger it in your mind, or is it a greater context of things?
Yeah, I think it is. I don't think you could immediately say, oh, yeah, well, 10 games lost and he's 100% sacked, because, you just don't know the context of that game. I can't believe we're even speaking about this, by the way. This is an absolutely crazy. If you just showed this to us a few weeks ago, this is like insane. Yeah, I don't think there's a specific number. I think we've got to keep improving performance-wise. I do genuinely think, and I don't think the United game was anywhere near as bad as the games against Palace and Galatasaray. I think those two games were specifically poor. Chelsea, not great either. There is strides in the right direction. There just needs to be progress. And I'm sure there will be. I think we'll go out and we'll win tomorrow. And I think we'll go out and win on the weekend. But, I thought that about the United game. So, yeah, I don't think there's going to be any sort of there's no number. But I think when we know, we will know, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a really difficult thing to just bluntly ask, because, we are talking about a man who led us to a league title. We are in a really unusual slump of 4 games. We're all expectant that we win on Wednesday or maybe on Saturday. So for yourself, Connor, I mean, I'm sure during the watch along when the result was going the way it was, there was a lot of chat about, there's always some overreaction of Slot out now and stuff like that. And, we've been speaking about this behind the scenes a bit. Are you like myself and Chris in that there isn't a particular number, but you'll just have that feeling if and when that time arrives?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think even you look back to Klopp, like probably the one time where we were thinking he might be under a bit of pressure was it we lost 6 home games in a row or something like that in that season. Like, even then, a lot of the fan base hadn't turned on him. So I think there's no like number as such. I think it is more a case of when the majority of the fan base comes around to that way of thinking, which I think is probably less than 1% at the minute who actually want him gone. Like, they are most level-headed fans will say he needs time to turn it around. He will be the man to do that, and we'll stick with him. So I think it's more of a case of if we see stuff like obvious signs that he's lost the dressing room, or that the likes of Mike Gordon and FSG, the people running the club, don't trust him anymore. I think that's the point where we start to think he might be sacked. Aside from anything like that, I don't think there is a specific number of games he could lose. But like I said, yeah, it will take a big turn, I think, to get him sacked. Like, I don't think he's going to be in trouble anytime soon.
So as I thought about this last night, Chris, I've come to the number of 3 more Premier League losses in a row. And I think his job comes under real scrutiny, particularly with the owners, because then you're talking about not only being well and truly out of a title race, but you're talking about Champions League then, and you're looking over your shoulder, or maybe you're even still looking upwards at those places to think, will we get it? And if we lost 3 more league games, and I have to focus on the league here, because Champions League, there's wiggle room, and of course, you can just find your way through that. 3 more league games lost, Chris, in a row, and I'm not going to lie, mate, I'd be expecting difficult conversations behind the scenes.
Yeah, when you say it like that, and looking at our fixture list coming up as well, it's not exactly easy. We've got some tough home and away games in the Champions League and the league, and even the League Cup. We've managed to draw Palace, the team that we can't beat at all at the moment. So, yeah, I honestly, even though you say the 3 more league games, I just can't quantify it because, as you say, we're not used to this stuff. Like even with Rodgers, like there was still a proportion of the fans who thought, well, unless we get this Klopp guy, we may as well keep Brendan. Like it's been a long time since we've ever had to even have a flicker of this. So yeah, it's a difficult one to analyze.
And for you, Conor, in that kind of Champions League race position, if we were to lose 3 more Premier League games, and let's say City have gone past us, Arsenal extend the lead over us, you've got Spurs there and thereabouts, Bournemouth right up there. You know, if it felt like if we lost another 3 league games in a row, I would almost say, mate, what you touched on about the dressing room, you know, maybe not giving it all from, I think I'd nearly be at that point then to think, well, something else is wrong here. It's not just tactics or selection. There's something festering behind the scenes, because even with Ruben Amorim there at Manchester United, what we seen in that game quickly was those players are very much still playing for their manager. They went out there, they mightn't agree with his system, but they got stuck in and had a go. If we lost 3 more Premier League games on the bounce, mate, I would be struggling to think of Arne having the ability to turn that round then.
Yeah, like you said, that would be an indication of bigger problems at the club, I think, because like we should be getting back to winning games, and like our next games are Brentford away, then we've Crystal Palace and Villa at home. And something we touched on earlier off camera, just the fact that we've had so many away games lately, and we have, I think, 5 of our next 6 games then will be at home. So I think if we get through those home games without winning more, I think that's definitely an indication something is seriously wrong. And like you said, even with like Ruben Amorim at Man United, like you see the players are still playing for him. And going back to what I said a few minutes ago, I think if you start to see signs of the players not trusting the manager, that's at the point where he comes under serious pressure. But until we get to that point, hopefully we won't get to that point at all. But until then, I think he's safe in the job, to be honest.
I agree with that. I've said many times since I've come back, I'm not a slot out situation yet, but I am concerned. And I think that's perfectly normal, because we've gone from euphoria in the summer, Chris, to, you know, the transfers that we got in, and, you know, probably all get a little bit carried away with ourselves and overly optimistic, which is acceptable. We are fans, but it is not what we would like. And the point I want to move on to next is the style. You know, you've been watching games live, you've been watching games on TV, so you've got every perspective on it. I'd seen the game against United, and for me, mate, I just don't understand what he's trying to do, and I don't think the players really either buy into or understand what he's trying to do. I can't put my finger on it, but I also couldn't tell you what the style is. Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I think I do. I think we are trying to play that PSG style of the flying players going forward, but the mixing that with the concoction of a load of new talent coming in and a load of players leaving, I just don't think. I think for that to work, and I mentioned this in the live show, for that to work, that style, you need everyone to be singing off the same hymn sheet. And at the moment, they're not. And I think the fact is that he's potentially, and we may be looking at trying to change far too much too quickly. And this is the result of it, is where we're looking a little bit disjointed. I don't know whether he may even revert to type, really, and have switched to more like last season and play a bit more conservatively with the fullbacks as well. But I don't know, to be honest. As I say, I think we're trying to play that PSG style. I don't think it's working yet.
So if we can have the conversation, Conor, about that PSG style, I would say we're half-arsed on it, because I don't see our fullbacks positioned high enough up the pitch as regularly as Paris Saint-Germain would have Hakimi and the other fullbacks so far up the pitch. I don't see the press being as intense as PSG's press is. So it feels like if we are trying to do those things, you need to be defending from the front for that system to work, and you need to be really up in their faces and giving them no option but to go long from their clearances, which hopefully in turn gives you possession back. So I wouldn't say we're seeing that. I expected to see that. I wanted to see that. The personnel we brought in, I think, would suit that. But it doesn't feel to me like we've committed to that with what we're seeing.
Yeah, like you said, between the players brought in, like Kerkez and Frimpong as the two right and left back, like they are the ones who are going to be pushing up. Like they're known for bombing down the wing And even if you look at Kerkez's touch map compared to last season, like he's basically playing in a back three almost as a centre back most of the time here. So that's obviously not what he was brought in to do. But like you said, like you need that intensity to play the PSG way, and we're not seeing that at all. We seem to be like preserving ourselves almost. It's like Slot has tried to implement that strategy, but also hold us back 20% so players don't get injured, so we stay fresh. But then it doesn't work unless you go gung-ho, go 100%. So like you said, we're in this halfway house and it's not working. So we need to just scrap that or fully commit to it, one or the other. We can't stay in this halfway house for too long.
So to kind of, I guess, tie this together a bit, Chris, what do you think is causing the team to look so far off it performance-wise? Is it a confidence thing now? Is it a system thing? Is it what you mentioned yourself a moment ago, the transition of new players coming in and trying to find like a good example that we can speak about, and I talked to you about, is they're still going back to Mamardashvili's right foot when they're passing the ball back to him. So it's just a simple way of kind of expressing the difference between what they're used to. And then when you bring in Isak into the equation as well, and they've now got a centre forward who kind of wants it to feed through the middle, these are things that I'm trying to explain to myself, or maybe reasons why we look so far off it. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I think, you know, we've mentioned Diogo. I think we have to add that caveat to everything, which I think is fair enough. The signings, the departures, what players are used to, the relationships they're used to having. Look at Trent and Salah; they had an incredible relationship on that right-hand side. You're having a different sort of, you know, with Frimpong, Szoboszlai, whoever, Bradley, you got a different relationship there, a different sort of style of player. And I think there is a world in which we could have won that match on Sunday quite easily. I think we created a lot of pretty good chances for a team who I think has looked sort of devoid of creativity over the last few weeks.
Well, on that, Chris, I'm not sorry for cutting across you, but it just made me think of a stat. I'm sure you've probably seen this, but in the last 4 games, we've an XG of 9.5.
Yeah,
but we've actually scored 3. Connor mentioned this to me
another bit to
earlier
that
on,
actually. If you compare the game against United to the 7-0, we had 0.03 XG lower than the game we won 7-0.
Yeah.
For context on that as well. It is crazy.
So we're not creating, but also we are looking so much more vulnerable defensively than how we have done over the past sort of season and a half. So I think there is clearly roots of positivity there, but it's not rubbing for us. And I think there's a lot of things that are going against us, and we've mentioned all of them, with the issue with Diogo, with the tactical changes that aren't particularly working, with the new personnel, and with the relationships that they haven't been able to create. It's a concoction of shit for us at the moment.
There's one more thing, Connor, that we haven't really discussed, and that is Johnny Heidinger's departure and Van Bronckhorst coming in. I mean, I don't think it's out of the question to think that maybe he was, you know, a big part of why, like, we had assistant managers before who were very important to Klopp, like Buvac. So is this a situation where maybe we're lacking that input in a defensive sense from Johnny Heidinger?
It could be, yeah. And just this, the Buvac Klaxon area, you mentioned him, you have to do that one. But
I hear it in my head, mate. Every time I say it, I hear it in my head.
Yeah, like Johnny Heitinga would be, of course, a help in the defensive department. But even aside from that, just again, the inconsistencies, the chopping and changing of the starting 11, the backroom staff, like everything is changing. You put on top of that then Diogo Jota's unfortunate passing. Like there's just so much uncertainty, changes, and instability. And even then you look on the pitch, you see Kerkez not doing well. And I think there's been signs of Van Dijk just really not trusting Kerkez on the left. And he seems to be just, I don't know, like he's throwing instructions to Kanate and just doing other things himself that he just wouldn't generally do. And I think if Robertson was there, maybe it's a bit more stability. So I think between the backroom changes, the changes to starting 11, and just general confidence issues, I think it's just an amalgamation of everything, really.
So there's one thing, Chris, that we did last year and we're doing again this year, but we solved it last year. We aren't solving it this year. And what I mean by that is first half performances. Last season, a lot of the time we weren't happy with the first 45, and Arne got them in a half time, made the changes, wore them down, we won games of football. This season, we're still having those same slow starts a lot of the time, Atletico Madrid maybe aside, but we're not really coming out second half and doing the same damage. So Any thoughts on that as a possible other reason why? And why are we starting so slowly, I guess, is another thing I would like to say.
Honestly, even last season, I don't think anyone had an explanation for it, because was it an energy conservation thing? Was it, trying to get a goal or two ahead and then press forward in the second half and win games? When it was working, it's brilliant, isn't it? Because you don't lose players to injuries as often and things like that. I think we did improve a lot against United in the second half, and that was mainly, to be honest, it wasn't to do with energy levels. It was to do with the personnel that was brought on. I thought Jones, Chiesa, Ekitike were all absolutely fantastic when they came on and completely changed the game for us. Maybe that was the main reason why we're seeing it, but yeah, it's frustrating when you see the levels of performances go up, because it's like, well, why haven't you been doing that for the first 45 minutes? It's frustrating.
And there's also something to the unlucky part, Chris. That we are being unlucky, but I just hate to say that as an excuse.
Oh, I know. It sounds so pathetic, doesn't it? Like
it does. It just sounds so defeatist.
I think for one game that works. 4 games you can't say it's unlucky.
Yeah.
Like one game you say fair enough.
The United game, I think I want to class the United game completely away from the other 3 against Chelsea, Galatasaray, and Palace. Those 3, I thought we were deserved losers. I don't think we deserve to lose against United. I really don't, and that's no discredit to them. I just think we created so much, and if we actually put our chances away, we would have won the game easily.
So would it be fair to say, gents, then that we have some concerns about the attack, but we're far more concerned about the other end of the pitch, with how easily we're conceding? Because we are creating chances, as we've said statistically, and we've seen with our own eyes. But it feels like we don't have to concede a lot of chances, Conor, to start conceding goals.
That's the thing. You look at the contrast between us and, let's say, Arsenal this season. What have they conceded? 3 or 4 goals in the league. If you're conceding barely any goals, chances are you're going to win most games, and that's what you need. Every good title-winning team is built on a good, solid defense, which we just don't have this season so far. So I think it all ties in together, really. If you don't have confidence in your back line, you're going to get nervous when you start pushing up as well. So I think it all ties in. If we can get more stability just everywhere on the pitch, it'll benefit everywhere on the pitch as well.
So Jamie Carragher was saying, Chris, that Mohamed Salah shouldn't be a guaranteed starter anymore, and I kind of wanted to expand on that a little bit and ask, for the 2 games you've got coming up this week, so obviously we've got Eintracht Frankfurt tomorrow, and then we've got Brentford on Saturday night. What front 3 and what fullbacks would you like to see start those 2 games? If we had to stick to one change here for both games, give me the 2 fullbacks you'd go with and the 3 forwards.
Well, I think at the moment our best fullback is a midfielder, and even though I want to get him in midfield, to be honest, I think he'll. I think he'll play Bradley against Frankfurt, and I think he'll play Szoboszlai against Brentford. On the right hand side, I think he'll play Robertson against Frankfurt and Kirkes against Brentford. Even though I would probably switch that round. I think Salah will play both games. I think he's the sort of guy you just need to play into form. I get what Carragher's saying, and if it continues on this vein, I mean, we saw him miss probably 2 or 3 sitters against United. Then that conversation needs to be had. But I feel like games against Frankfurt and Brentford, he can get back into form. I'd like to see Ekitike start against Frankfurt and Isak brought on. In fact, I'd like to see Ekitike start both games, and then Gakpo and maybe Chiesa against Frankfurt. That'd be good. But yeah, for me, that would be. I think we have to play Salah in both games. He just needs to be played into form.
So for me, Conor, before I come to you, because the preview's gone out, so I can talk about this, I'd have Gomez at right back, because I just think that's something we haven't utilised enough this season to give it a chance. I absolutely understand where Chris is coming from with Szoboszlai at right back, but I feel like, again, we're talking square pegs, round holes, and what we're gaining there, we're losing in midfield. So I would have Gomez on the right. I would play Robbo for both games. I have to say I would, because we just need to get back with some stability. And the front 3, Mohamed Salah should absolutely not be starting either of these games, in my opinion. So I'd go Chiesa right, Ekitike left, Isak central. But I couldn't push back against anybody who said keep Gakpo left and put Ekitike central and give Isak a break. I could understand that thought process as well. So that's where I'm at for the 2 games, Conor. How about you?
I disagree on Gomez, to be honest, just purely because I think we should just be letting him sit down. Just don't move. Just stay there. Cotton wool. We only have 3 centre-backs. He's injury prone. Don't play him if you don't need to, in all honesty. If he wasn't injury prone and we didn't have too many centre backs out injured, I'd be for it, to be honest. But I think just in that case, I would say don't play him. I think, especially for the Frankfurt game, I think the likes of Frimpong, Wirtz, Ekitike should definitely be starting, just because like they're a Bundesliga team. It's what they know. It's their bread and butter. I think it's a good game, especially for Wirtz to kind of work his way in. Like it's an opposition you'll know well. Ekitike will know the team well, obviously, and I will be interested to see Ekitike on the left, but I think just start him through the centre for this one. Maybe stick Gakpo on the left and then Case on the right. And then for the weekend, then maybe I'd probably start Ekitike again, in all honesty. Like, I think he has been miles above Isak, in my opinion. Like, Isak just hasn't looked at it at all. He will get there, obviously, but I think for the time being, we have to just go back to Ekitike was scoring goals when he was playing. He's barely got a sniff since that red card incident. I don't know if that's anything to do with it or not, but it feels like we've barely seen him since then. So I'd be starting him both. I kind of agree on the Salah thing, but I'd caveat that by saying if he's not playing well, hook him at half time or 60 minutes. Like, don't give him till 90 minutes. But if he wants to start him at the weekend, then fair enough. But he definitely needs to get to a point where he can actually take Salah off if he's not performing, because no one deserves to play 90 minutes if they're not performing.
Yeah, I would agree, but I would say no open play goals in 7 is enough for me to say, nah, sorry, mate. Because it's not that he's been unlucky. He just isn't getting involved in games anywhere near as much. And Conor, can I get you to expand on something that you said to me earlier on a little bit? And I know we can't explain this anywhere near as well as the actual statisticians, but you were saying to me about the whole theory of lashing on a lot of forwards to try and change a game, and that can be counterproductive. Now, you're no Dr. Ian Graham. I'm not trying to run you down, sir.
Not
but,
quite.
You've explained it well to me, so kind of explain to the audience what you were saying.
Yeah, there was a piece, I think it was Sam Maguire done it, so if you want to look up that, obviously, I'm going to absolutely butcher the point of it, but it was basically, like, if you are just throwing on 6 forwards, chances are then your chances are going to fall to the players who shouldn't be getting the chances. Like, if you have 2 main attackers on the pitch, chances are most of them chances will go to, let's say, Isak or Salah. 8 out of 10 of them are then going in. But like when you have everyone just pushing forward, you have 6 attackers on the pitch, suddenly balls are falling to, let's say, Curtis Jones, or falling to Cody Gakpo rather than Isak or Salah or whoever it should be. So there's definitely something to that. Like, I think even aside from that, just throwing on 7 attackers and just going gung-ho doesn't work most of the time. Like, even we got back to 1-1 earlier, or in that game against United, and then we just didn't know how to defend. Like, it just, in general, it doesn't work. And again, I'd encourage you to go read that piece by Sam Maguire, because that was a much more better explanation. It was kind of like the hierarchy of attacking players on the pitch, basically, which it was an interesting point. And again, I've definitely butchered it there, but the general point is, you want your chances falling to your best players, which isn't happening currently.
So immediately, Chris, when Conor explained that to me earlier on, my mind went back to Jurgen Klopp's time at Liverpool. And how many times did we see him taking off a forward, let's say, and bringing on a fullback or something like that? And we would be all thinking, no, empty the bench of the forwards. And when Conor said that to me, my mind started thinking, well, is that where Klopp was going? Because, of course, Dr. Ian Graham would have been around at that point as well. And, they were taking off, let's say, an attacking midfielder and putting on, at this time, probably Costas to come on. I didn't really understand it at the time, like how we was going to make an attacking left winger make a difference in our need for a goal. But now that Conor mentioned that, and Dr. Ian Graham obviously explained it a bit in Sam Maguire's piece, it kind of makes some sense with it. Maybe that's what Klopp was doing back then as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because you would think in layman's terms more attacking players equals more chances, but actually you need creative players and build-up players as well. You can't just have the final product on the end of it. I will say I do think it actually worked against United in terms of getting that goal, because I think all of the players were involved in that, and the players that were brought on, it did actually work. But yeah, we've seen it this time. Arne Slot's a big fan of taking off a centre-back and putting on a midfielder. He's a huge fan of that. It's letting Gravenberch or Endo chilling centre half. But yeah, I theoretically, it makes little sense to do that. So yeah, Ian Graham knows more than I do.
Yeah, even aside from that, like, you already see when we have a starting 11, let's say, like likes of Ekitike and Wirtz are already competing in the same area for the ball. Like, they both like to pick up the same areas, and they're already conflicting, and that's why Wirtz then kind of has to go a bit more central than he'd like. Like, he kind of likes that left half space, which is where Ekitike and Isak tend to go as well. So the more attackers you have on, then the more conflicting you're going to have, the more competing for balls in the same area, and that is counterproductive sometimes.
that also lends into the argument we put forward earlier, is that actually they're just not used to each other yet.
Of course.
It's just totally like you had Salah, Mane, Firmino back in the day. They were just like so in tune with each other. It was ridiculous. I'm not saying that these guys will get to that level, but I think that's exactly part of the reason, because they're all, quite similar in that regard. So maybe, with a few months together continuously in training and a consistent front three, they can get used to it.
One thing stood out to me, I was listening to Match of the Day because I'd recorded it over the weekend. When I got home, I watched it. And Troy Deeney said something, and it kind of triggered something in my mind, because he's not the first one I've heard say this, but he's been talking about greed from the forwards that we have. So let's say Salah used to be the guy, Isak used to be the main guy, Ekitike used to be the main guy, Wirtz used to being kind of the main guy. And now these guys have come into a team where there's multiple guys, main guys, the guy. Do you reckon that's playing into this? Are they trying to prove themselves that I'm still that guy and I'm going to be the one to have these moments? I'm going to be the one to make the difference, Conor, and change the game?
It could well be, like, not even in an arrogant way, but like, if you're going to be a professional footballer at that level, you're going to have at least a bit of an ego. You're going to back yourself. You're going to want to be the main man. And yeah, it would make sense in terms of, like, we went out this summer and signed Isak and Wirtz, big money transfers, the main men. While other years we would have went to Southampton and gotten the likes of Sadio Mane. We would have picked up Roberto Firmino from the Bundesliga. There's kind of players who are on the cusp of becoming top class rather than bringing in the world class players. So there could definitely be something to that. I think I seen a quote from Troy Deeney basically saying, like, it was egos. I don't think it's like the way, maybe I picked it up wrong just from reading the quote rather than seeing what he said, but it sounded more like he was trying to say, like, they're all arrogant basically. But if it's just a case of, like you said, people who are used to being the main man wanting to prove themselves, and yeah, there probably is something to that.
And if you add into that, Chris, what Luis Diaz said over at Bayern Munich, that he's in a dressing room now where everyone's working for the team and not for themselves, it kind of, again, just pops into my mind, linking up with what Troy Deeney said.
Yeah, what I will say is I don't usually, think that Troy Deeney is a fountain of knowledge. But what I will say, I do sort of agree with him. You got, as you said, you got players coming in who are world class. And again, it will take time to realize that sort of, like, I don't want to say hierarchy, because I feel like they should all be on the same level, all competing, all trying to outscore each other, score as many goals as they can. But yeah, when, as we mentioned, that Salah, Mane, Firmino, when they were so in tune with each other, and they were all, fantastic players. It sort of, maybe we need someone to be the facilitator and say, look. And I think personally, this is Ekitike. I think he's a perfect Firmino-esque player. But then you're again losing a lot of his attacking ability. World-class player, I think. So it's a hard one, but it's a good conundrum and a good problem to have.
So if you compare it to PSG a couple of years ago, like when you have like Neymar, Messi, Mbappe, like, not saying that's the same situation here. Like, I think those players are more egotistical than the players we have. But again, like, there is some comparisons to be drawn there as well, just in terms of big name players and world class players trying to compete for spots and play together as well while trying to be the main man.
Yeah, I think that's fair. There was another couple of points I wanted to raise on this as well. Thinking about, I guess, the changes that have come into the team we've spoken about, the guys wanting to be the main man we've spoken a little bit about as well. But I'm big on accountability, Chris. And I just think if you're playing players consistently that are not in form, and then you've got guys like Chiesa who get limited chances but prove themselves in those limited chances, I don't know what message that sends out to the rest of the team. Now, of course, we have to say we don't see them on the training pitch every day. We don't know certain things that Arne would know. But I do think it's kind of undermining if you're continuing to put out good players and you've got other players who are chomping at the bit to get a chance. And also, we mentioned this at the live show, I feel like we've still only got 4 forwards and not 6, because he's not trusting Chiesa, and Ngamoa just isn't ready for the here and now yet.
Yeah, I find it very. I'm going to eat my own words here, because I said earlier I think we need to play Salah into form, but the fact Chiesa came on again and made an impact, like it is literally every single game. Like, there's only so often we can dig him out for that Plymouth performance, lads. That guy really, really needs to, like, to get more minutes. And Slot alluded to it in his press conference before the match that he'd get like a more regular place in the squad. I don't get it. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but again, it's like credibility in the bank consistently. But as you say, the message is confusing, especially for someone like Chiesa.
So if the very worst were to happen, lads, and the bad slump continued, and we got to that point where we're thinking we'll know when it comes, and it's time to say bye-bye, is there anybody at the back of your mind who you would be maybe casting a little eye on just in case? Is there, because this was asked to me yesterday, and the honest answer was I haven't given it a second's thought, because I'm not at that point yet where I'll be looking around to see who could do a job here or who might be a good fit. So just a jumping off point here, Conor, Oliver Glasner's name was thrown up by somebody. And, I find that a very interesting one, but I'm not sure stylistically with the players we have if he would be able to make us as progressive as we'd like to be, because, of course, with the way he plays with Palace, they're very good defensively. They work hard, but they're also a counter-attacking side with pace, and I don't think we have enough pace. So is there anyone that you be casting an eye on if Arne was to unfortunately get to that point?
Yeah, like you, I haven't really given it a huge amount of thought in terms of, I don't think he will be sacked. I don't want him sacked, so I haven't really thought about it too much. The main name I've seen thrown up is Areola, Bournemouth. Everyone seems to be mentioning him. I suppose the Richard Hughes connection, of course, the whole Bournemouth link, we seem to be signed a lot of players from them as well. Stylistically, he could work. I'd probably pick him over Glasner. Outside shout then, big Australian, Ange Postecoglou was available.
Yeah,
maybe a couple of years ago.
Sort out our defensive woes.
Yeah. A couple of years ago, I probably would have thought he would have been a decent Liverpool manager at some point. But I think he's kind of gone out of everyone thinking now after the debacle at Nottingham Forest and Spurs. But again, I'm not thinking about it really, but they're the names I've heard most being thrown around.
And for yourself, Chris, any names for you?
No, I'm not even going to dignify it with an answer. Let
us say names, and you don't say any names.
I appreciate it. I don't even. I love Iraola, by the way. I think he's amazing.
He was brilliant at Rayo Vallecano. I watched quite a bit of them there as well, and
honestly,
they punch way above their weight.
Just like Bournemouth are at the moment. I really like, again, the translation between a Bournemouth and a Rayo Vallecano to a Liverpool is huge. But yeah, I don't even want to. It'll have to be 5, 6, 7, 8 more losses, like Steps would say, before I even think about that.
Someone in the watch along said Gerrard as well. I just laughed.
No, God, no.
Absolutely not.
Let me put a different question to you. To lean into Conor, the Stephen Bartlett interview, the CEO, Diary of a CEO podcast. If Jurgen suddenly got an itch and, got a little conversation going with John W. Henry about a potential coming back, if Jurgen was available tomorrow, would you say bye-bye, Arne, and welcome back, Jurgen?
No, I don't think so. As the romantic in me, and imagine the spectacle of the seeing Klopp back at Anfield will be amazing. But I think leave the past in the past. Just leave it as it was. His legacy is there. We said goodbye. That was tough enough as it was. I wouldn't want to have to say goodbye to Klopp again. And like I said, I think just leave the past in the past. Klopp has had his time with Liverpool. As much as I would love it, really, I'm going to say no. Now and in the future, because I think it's just, I don't know. I just don't like the idea of going back to something that way. I think it's been done. We love that time with Klopp at the club, and just leave it at that, I think.
For yourself, Chris?
As the old adage goes, never go back to an ex. And it's always a bad idea because the same things always crop up, even if the breakup was amicable. No way. Keep moving forward.
So here's where I'm going to be the contrarian. I would, and I thought initially I was in Conor's camp.
You would right now,
thinking, huh? I would do it tomorrow morning. Yeah, I would. And here's why. I connect more with Jurgen Klopp because I am an emotional bundle of energy. And I can get drawn into feeling like somebody doesn't care as much when they're a bit more of an introvert. And I'm wrong about that, by the way, because I've seen many sportsmen and women over the years who are quiet, like Katie Taylor, an example, who will go into the trenches and leave it all out there. And I've no doubt that internally Arne is fuming and, scheming on what to do. But just give me an angry German shouting on the sidelines and almost taking the pressure off the players with his antics. I mean, one of the things about Mourinho that I always admired over the years was he was very, very good at taking the pressure off his players by taking it onto his shoulders, and him being the focus for ire, Chris, and the people that everyone was getting frustrated at. I think there's some cleverness in that as well.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I would, yeah.
One of the biggest skills that Jurgen Klopp had was like, do you remember the amount of stuff he used to go on about, like about the pitch being overgrown and like the stuff that he used to say to just completely take the pressure off the players? I don't think Slot. I think Slot sort of tries to do that. It's just not. It doesn't really come across as well. But yeah, I can't get behind it, Craig. I never ever works. I think Mourinho might be the only one that it ever worked where a manager.
I had a theory in my mind though to try and link it all together because I'm so deluded. And by the way, I'm probably aware I'm an outlier on this one, but in my head, Jurgen coming back wouldn't be another 6, 7, 8 year thing. It would probably be a cycle to the next international tournament where you maybe look at the likes of Nagelsmann or somebody along those lines down the line.
Like, is that getting into United territory then of like Sir Alex Ferguson is still there in the background? Like, you can't just keep clinging onto these things. I'm not saying it's exactly the same situation, but is there it's just a bang of United off bringing back someone like that, I think, like not really moving
Do you remember
when person.
Do you remember when Klopp announced he was leaving, Conor? And there was many a conversation had where, what if he said he wanted a year break? What if he said he needed 1 year off to recharge his batteries? And we had somebody, most of us were saying we'd probably be all right with that.
I don't think he is at that point, though. Like, even listening
to be successful, then to go, well, you're out now, Klopp's back in.
Yeah, but like, even listening to that interview, like I don't think he wants to come back to management anytime soon. So it is a bit of a pointless conversation in a way. Like he just doesn't seem like he wants to manage. But sorry, what was that?
Just loves playing paddle all the time.
Yeah,
that's like. And why wouldn't you? There's no stress involved. Just go out and chill and play with your grandkids. I loved that interview, by the way. It was brilliant. The only thing that annoyed me about that interview was the fact that Stephen Barlow kept going on about United like way too much. Like, come on, man. It was like frustrating, but yeah, I don't think he'll ever go anywhere else.
I guess part of my thinking about Klopp came into the fact that looking around, there isn't anyone that jumped into my mind to be, well, if Arne did lose his job. The Areola one's a good shout, by the way. Very good shout. But yeah, there was nobody jumping out at me like, let's say Hansi Flick was available or something along those lines. And I'm a sucker for that gegenpressing, man. I just loved it. If I think back to some of those early games against Manchester City and just the sheer chaos, I loved every minute of that. That was just emotionally driven football. And when Jurgen was burnt out, I could totally understand why. Like, I totally got how living that experience every day for the 9 years or so he was here would take it out of you. It's hard enough being a Premier League manager at the best of times. But yeah, I'm just being honest. If Jurgen turned around tomorrow and said, "Yeah, I'm coming back," I'd probably cry of happiness. The man is to me just incredible. But I also get Conor's point as well. I mean, we've seen Kenny Dalglish come back for a small little transitional period to help us out when obviously Hodgson got the sack, and rightly so. And even that, it was tough seeing Kenny, he moved on as well then after that. So yeah, totally understand where both your points are and appreciate you being so honest about it. Do want to know that if you're watching this on YouTube, in the comments, would you take that option? And if the worst did come to the worst, and I think all three of us have to re-emphasize, we're not at the point where we want Arne Slot gone, not at all. But we're also in the middle of a very difficult phase, and we've got to have contingencies, I guess, in our minds for these things. So, gentlemen, Frankfurt, Champions League, tomorrow night. What are we saying, Chris? I mean, I've looking at their recent run of form. Conor always does when we're doing the previews. He always gives me the results, the last 5 results of the opposing teams, and they've had some kickings, mate. Like, they've had some really, really bad results. So could this be a right time, right place, or is it going to be a case of them maybe thinking of us and go, well, this could get us back, boys. This could make a statement. If we can beat Liverpool, then all those other results go away.
Why exactly? Yeah, I can't profess to have watched any Frankfurt this year. My Frankfurt watching ended when TK joined us. So yeah, that was sort of my only real interaction with them. But look, they've got pedigree, man. They won the Europa League quite recently. And I think it was under Oliver Glasner. Yeah, I was going to say, they've created a lot, but obviously they're in a transition as well. We should win, lads. Like being real. I know it's away from home, but I think we've got quite a good record in Germany, to be honest. So I'm pretty confident we'll go there and win, and we fucking need to. We need to for morale.
Connor, yourself, how are you feeling about heading into this one? Oh, sorry, Chris. I want a score prediction actually as well, so I'll come back to you in a second.
3-1.
3-1, nice. So no clean sheet again, you prick. No.
No.
We don't again. Don't lie to me and say 2-0 or anything. No, conceding.
We'll go 1-0 down as well.
Probably it won't be in the first 62 seconds.
We'll go 1-0 down. I'll tell you that now. We'll go 1-0 down and we'll win 3-1.
So, yeah, that's going to be an interesting watch along if that happens. Connor, for yourself, what would you think going into this one against Frankfurt? Right time or another banana skin?
Well, going off our recent form against Frankfurt back in 1974, we did fail to score there. So is that an omen? I don't know, but yeah, like they're not in good form. We're creating a lot of chances, not scoring. So I'm going to say we start scoring. I'm going to go 5-2 win. I'm going to say it's an absolutely crazy game, loads of goals, 5-2.
I wouldn't say no to a crazy game. I do love an end-to-end. Again, we're going back to that Jurgen Klopp era now, boys. We're going back to that we'll score more than you. Which, look, I'll take any win at this point. Lads, I'm not going to lie. If it goes in off Virgil van Dijk's right earlobe, doesn't bother me. As long as we win a game of football. But I'm also going to be honest with you and say, if we win tomorrow night, that's not going to stop my worrying about where we are. It needs to be backed up then on Saturday. So I don't know if we'll record again before Saturday or not, but gents, can I push you for a score prediction on that one as well? If we're going away at Brentford, which, by the way, Chris, I love a Saturday night kickoff. I know we talked about travel for the fans before, but as a greedy, sitting on the sofa kind of guy, man, I love the idea of a Saturday night game.
They are banging, aren't they? They are really good. I thought they were good against West Ham on Monday. They
really were, man. They really controlled that game well.
And Igor Thiago against Canate sort of scares me a little bit.
Is he coming from Brazil?
Yeah.
I just remember, I had a vague recollection of them signing him, but I couldn't remember when.
Yeah, no,
he's 24, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
24 years of age.
He picked up a real
about him as well. Bromo's age always freaked me out. I thought he was like 29 or something.
He picked up like a really bad injury last year, didn't he? And couldn't settle in, but he looks like a hell of a player. So, and I tell you what, if we get a penalty, Kelleher will be so keen to save it, man. Considering he's just saved Ronaldo's penalty as well.
And an Mbappe one.
And an Mbappe one last year.
And Bruno Fernandes as well in between.
Exactly. Well, we don't count that. No. But yeah, no, I think again, it's very dependent on how we play. But I'll go 2-1.
Still no clean sheets, no Chris. Well, you're killing me here, dude. and Connor, when we're up against your doppelganger.
Yeah, I was thinking I could maybe have a word with him, maybe slip him 50 quid. He might let a few goals in, but yeah, I was going to go say 2-1 as well. I think we will win, but it's not going to be an easy one. I think it will be a case of us going 2-0 up again, and then we concede, and we have like 20 minutes at the end where we're thinking, for fuck's sake, lads, again 2-0. So yeah, 2-1. I'm going to go with.
If I see Connor Bradley, Jeremy Frimpong, or anybody that size marking Nathan Collins, I'm going to lose my mind, lads. I'm going to say that nice and early. I want our centre-backs marking their centre-backs, please, and thank you. Right, ladies and gents, we'll find out if we're right or wrong soon enough, but of course, we do appreciate you taking the time to have a watch and a listen. Anything that you heard us discuss, we really would love to know your thoughts on. I want to say a huge thank you to both gents again for helping me out massively this weekend. Chris came down to our live show in Liverpool and really made the night a lot easier for me. So again, Chris, thank you so much for that one. And Connor, admirably filling in as well on the watch along, breaking his is taking his cherry on that one. And you'll lose your real virginity soon as well, Connor. Don't worry, man.
Someday we'll get there.
So yeah, thank you guys for listening. We'll be back soon, and yeah, much love. Bye-bye.